Perched on the northern Baltic coast lies Tallinn, the almost 800-year-old capital city of Estonia. This year it's been designated a European cultural capital. The city attracts more than 1 million tourists each year. It has a population of over 400,000, more than a third of whom are ethnic Russians. Estonia used to be part of the Soviet Union. But its heyday was as a port in the Middle Ages, and that's how Tallinn likes to promote itself to tourists. I ask women running market stalls what they think of their city's new role as a European cultural capital. Some are Estonian and some are Russian. The first says she finds it great because it means Tallinn will attract more tourists. It will make more people aware of Estonia and the Estonian people. The next is Russian. She thinks it will be more of an experience for the Estonians. At the moment, the Russians just have one cultural centre and one theatre, but she'll wait and see. The third is also Russian. She says this is our city too. We Russians were born here. We grew up here. We don't have the feeling that this event is only for the Estonians. As I walk through the old part of the city, I notice many small shops and galleries. I've heard that Estonian fashion designers are making an impact in Western Europe. Down an alleyway, I find designer Reit Aus in her workshop. In Tallinn, it's not only the young who love her collections.
It's very red, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, but it's nice.
It's a very nice red.
The strong colours and elegant cut of her clothes appeal to me. If there's an Estonian influence in her design, then it's the Estonians' love of nature, Reit tells me. That's why she wants to make clothing in an eco-friendly way. She recycles fabric remnants from big fashion houses. Out of the old comes the new. Her philosophy well suits Tallinn's image as European cultural capital.
I don't know. Small things, maybe some souvenirs or something. They start to support Estonian design, Estonian production, this kind of more sustainable ways of thinking. And that is the part I'm really interested about.
Next, I've arranged to visit a school. Some of the students are learning to play musical instruments. Their teachers, like Leho Karin, who's the cello instructor, are mostly professional musicians, members of the city or state orchestra, who come to the school twice a week. I ask if I can have a try myself, even though I've never touched a cello before in my life. Leho earns very little teaching music at the school. But in Tallinn, it's part of being a professional musician to teach youngsters your instrument. I ask him whether that's why Estonian musicians have such a high reputation in Europe. He tells me that Estonia has long shared in the Western tradition. The period prior to the First World War is a good example. And he mentions Russian teaching, particularly for strings. He says classical music was very popular here during the Soviet era, as it is today. First-rate orchestras often play in Tallinn's churches. Leo took me along to a rehearsal of Handel's Messiah. And he tells me that Estonia also has world-class composers. They would have been nothing without the European tradition from the East and the West. It seems to me that in many ways Tallinn makes skillful use of the different European traditions. In the old town, there's amber for sale everywhere. It comes from Kaliningrad in Russia. What most visitors aren't aware of is that there's no amber along the Baltic coast in Estonia. So many local artists like Tallinn regard jewellery made from amber, the gold of the Baltic as it's known, as kitsch. Tallinn is preparing to exhibit his works as part of the European Cultural Capital celebrations. His jewellery will be part of an art installation in an old lighthouse. It's made using precious stones, pieces of animal horn and seashells. Tallinn finds his materials on his travels and at home in Estonia. Some of his pieces are on display in his workshop. The artist tells me the small sculptures represent the dark and light sides of life, like abstract fairy tales. And his prime source of inspiration is the Baltic.
This kind of, let's say, basic forces, or this is something I really like stormy sea, or yeah, this kind of, that you feel that there is much bigger things than human beings, and the sea is a good way to feel it, this eternity.
For decades, most residents of Tallinn were cut off from the sea. The Soviet army made it a prohibited zone. Now, for Tallinn's year as a European cultural capital, the old military installations are being opened up to the public. The transformation will cost more than 10 million euros, much of which will be funded by the European Union. Local architect Andres Corisar has designed the conversion of a former hangar for naval aircraft into the Maritime Museum. It's a place that recalls many of the dramatic changes in Estonian history. The small country was often at the mercy of the big powers of the East and the West, but its people have always kept the spirit of their country alive in their hearts. He tells me time and time again, Estonia has been in the middle of various wars. We've had war machinery pointed at us from all sides, from the Russians, the Germans, the Swedes, the Finns, from the Latvians and the Polish and the Danes, and we want to show all that here in our history. I find it strange that Tallinn, as European cultural capital, has a war museum as one of its attractions. Andres tells me how wonderful it is that Estonians can now finally live in peace. My day in Tallinn is coming to an end. But there's one of the cultural capital sites that I still want to visit. A disused coal-fired power station on the harbour, now used as a cultural centre. Here, the hottest DJs in the city, like Sten Saluvir, play Estonian beat, but it doesn't sound much different from the music in many Berlin clubs. That shouldn't come as a surprise. Because of its proximity to Finland, even in Soviet times, Estonia was able to quickly catch up with Western trends.
In Tallinn, Europe can experience sort of the best of Europe, that we have this sort of establishment of the old Europe, but at the same time one can really sort of taste the exoticness of the East.
Tallinn can easily strut its stuff as a cultural capital. To me, it's long been a centre of European culture.